I'm often asked for gear that delivers a nice analog sound in a mix. Many dream of running their mixes through a vintage analog console, but the reality is they're expensive, they're high maintenance, and they take up loads of space. But what if you could get that rich analog warmth at a fraction of the cost and without all the hassle? TK Audio might just have the solution. The TK Audio Transformer captures the depth and character of running your mix through multiple transformer stages, just like on a vintage console. But with perfect stereo matching and a well-designed control set, it offers even greater precision, making it a versatile tool for mixing and mastering. Let's listen to a quick example of how it can sound on a mix, and then we'll look into it in more detail. So how do I achieve this sound with the transformer? Well, the way I approached this particular mix was to engage the TX drive part initially on the transformer. The TX drive function is going to, even just by engaging the button, give you a little bit of a boost in the low end, around the 30 Hz region. Not like an EQ, it's just like a weight and a fullness that you'll notice. So you'll need good speakers or headphones to be able to hear what that does in particular. But what it also does is add some high frequency air as well. So it's a bit like a kind of a smiley EQ curve. But note, it's not an EQ. This is actually happening through saturation and harmonics in those areas. This particular track I felt would benefit from some sort of kind of air added to the sort of synths that are going on there and sort of enhance the reverbs and things like that. So a really good trick with the transformer to get that is to utilize the mid-side function. Now, what that does when you engage this function is the left side of the transformer deals with controlling the central signals, and then the right side of the transformer then controls the far sides, much like you get on many other mid-side type units. And what I'll do, and you'll see me do this in a second, is I'm going to engage the germanium, the GE button, which is a kind of one of the stages of saturation that the transformer has. And I'm going to gauge the high frequency section as well, which just adds a little bit more air even than the TX drive does. And then when I first engage those, you won't really hear any distortion at all, because you have to actually use the gain stage here to drive into it. Now what that does is also increase the volume. So then we utilize the output trim to compensate for that. And between those two functions, I will be able to create a nice sizzle and a bit more bite on the synths. And then I'm just going to blend that in with the mid signal again and hopefully have what sounds like a great product. So let's have a look. I've got another mix here that I'm going to use the transformer on now, and this particular mix is going to have a slightly different approach to the last one. I'm not going to utilise the mid-side. I don't need to add air to this one. But I think this one's going to benefit really nicely from the more vintage analog vibe that this is going to lend to any mix you run through it. In particular, I'm going to utilise the Class A output stage. Now, TK have put these huge Carnhill transformers on the output stage of this, and when you press the A button on each channel, that will engage those transformers, and you'll notice immediately it gives a really kind of nice, warm, vintagey vibe to it. There's no other way to explain it. But what I'm also going to do, just to add a little bit of interest and warmth to the mix as well, is utilise the saturation circuit on this rather than the germanium circuit that I used in the last one. The germanium is a lot more aggressive and gritty, and the saturation actually works as a clipper. It does actually compress the kind of more peaky parts of drums and things like that. And so I'm going to engage that, drive into it with a gain again, and blend that really nicely so that maybe some of the synths in the low end just get a little bit of grit to the sound. And you'll notice when I do the bypasses, it's fairly subtle, but to me it just brings that little bit of reality and life to an otherwise fairly sterile sounding mix. Let's have a listen. Another great use for the transformer is adding a lot of harmonic content and saturation to audio that's already got a lot of harmonic content in it, such as, for example, heavy distorted guitars. So while this is great at adding just analog vibe and vintage console style sound, you can use it as a distortion box as well. Check this out. As you've heard, the transformer can bring depth, weight and character to your music, whether it's on a single source like guitars or on a full mix. It's one of those pieces of gear that you really have to experience for yourself to appreciate what it can do. If you have the chance, I highly recommend you give it a try. We've got a demo unit here if you're interested and want to get in touch. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more like this. See you again.